nice transparency. I swear to God, in Los Angeles County.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
We got a $20,000 augmented grant for legal fees. I'm serious, I sure. I'll give you an affidavit.
It's under $3.
And
one got me.
we're probably going to be, somebody will be covering all the meetings going forward. Can I have 5 minutes of your time after? It won't be spared.
They're the worst ones on those guys.
I would really appreciate it. I got a problem. Only you and Dan can do this very quickly. Very quickly. Not controversial. Just, thanks.
Too much shooting by the left ear or what? She was yelling at your right ear.
Listen to those two.
I just want to tell you,
Smart man.
we had the same experience finding a restaurant that it was open. No. Okay. The first three.
4:30.
The first three were
First
closed.
three were closed.
All right, so
Who's the chairperson? I'm sorry, I'm new.
we're going to call the meeting to order now at 4:30. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Kathy Bueno,
Yes.
Nick Mamarano,
Yes.
Floyd Duran,
Yes.
Valerie Borsa, and Clay Hart.
Here.
Just one moment, let me call Dr. Borsa. Was it 6?
Good afternoon.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Dr. Borsa. This is Barbara.
It is good morning to some of us.
Yes. So we have just begun the meeting. We just said the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will now verify that you were with us.
Yes,
Okay.
present.
Okay. So public comments.
I had no registered.
I know that I didn't get to register. I would ask the board to, on a one-time situation, I had a heck of a time finding how to register. I didn't have a lot of luck. And if the board chair and the members would enable me the privilege, and it would be a privilege at this point to speak, I would appreciate that. My name is Stephen Hamer, and I'm with All Things 81082, and I'm representing the press or the media in this, and we'll be covering these meetings. I'm sorry that I didn't find it. I looked everywhere, and I would ask the board to indulge me, to give me an opportunity to speak. It would be very brief.
Just so you're aware, there is it's very clear on the website, and we do usually have at least a 24-hour notice for public
I
speakers.
understand that.
So we try to follow our agenda and follow our.
Well, I'd ask for an
things.
exception.
I understand that. Can I
Under the
finish?
First Amendment.
Yes, can I finish?
Yes, ma'am.
Please, thank you. This is our meeting, so
Yeah.
if you're gonna disrupt, that's gonna not get you a good vote here. So let us do it our way, please.
Yes,
So, I will ask the board if they would like to make an exception this one time, and probably do that through vote, if they'd be willing to allow public comments. I will remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, and it would be less than that.
Okay, so I'll take it to a vote. Well, let's see what you want to discuss and decide.
I believe there's another person that asked for a public comment as well, and we also told them the same exact thing. So it would be for both of them if we did this, to be fair.
Okay. Are they here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom.
Okay. Okay.
Tom asked me
So
when he came in.
if we can do it for one, we have to consider both.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, discussion.
I'm okay with it. If they want to speak, we got nothing to hide, so by all means. As long as they abide by the 3-minute rule, I'm good.
Okay, so I have a motion from you.
Motion from Floyd.
Second from you. Roll call.
Kathy,
I'm okay with it.
Nick,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Valerie,
I personally am not okay with it, so.
okay.
Okay,
Nope, that's fine. Clay,
Yes.
okay.
okay. So, I was unaware that you had one, Tom, as well. I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
Sorry.
So since you were here and asked for that, we will give one of you the floor. Can you start the timer?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead,
Go,
Tom.
go ahead, Stephen.
Uh,
I'll give you the floor.
My name is Stephen Amer. I'm the publisher for All Things 81082. We are Trinidad's #1 news source. We have 11,500 followers that see our page every day. Over 10,000 according to Facebook. We also have over 10,500 likes. We also have a bad rapport with the ambulance district, and I would like to bridge that gap with more understanding. Today I was hung up on by an employee only because I said that doesn't appear to be very transparent. That's what was stated. The individual hung up on me. I think that was rude, insolent, and unprofessional. Throughout the conversation, there were multiple witnesses in a room because it was 4 members of our board. I want to get along with the ambulance district. I want better rapport with the ambulance district. And I need the ambulance district to speak up how we can better communicate. And we're willing to listen. We have a 7-member board, and they range from the chief executive officer of the hospital to a sergeant on the sheriff's office. And we want to have a good rapport. I know that I can get rather passionate, and I can get rather persistent. Those aren't faults. If I can temper them, they would be virtues, and I'll work on that, and I'll do my part. But I expect better reception. I haven't been very kind in editorials against Mr. Moynihan, and certainly I've been disappointed with the lack of openness and transparency when it comes to public records. But we want to work with all things, and I would like some honest input at some point, what we can do to foster better understanding and cooperation. We're not going to go away. You're not going to go away. And I want to do what I need to do to make it a better, to make it a better relationship. And right now, it's not a good relationship. So I apologize for any mistakes we've made. I just finished college, got proctored to get my degree in journalism. I have a bachelor's and master's in meteorology, but I do have a degree now in journalism. I'm a member of the Society of Professional Journalists. I have a lot to learn about finesse and manners, and I don't have good speaking skills, and I apologize for that. And I apologize if I've offended the board, but I think we all need to maintain professionalism, and I think it's lacked on both sides. So if I'm open for suggestions at some point, and I'd be happy to follow up any conversations you might have, Mr. Moynihan, or Mr. Moreno, or Dave over there. And also I want to thank the ambulance district for saving my life. I had back-to-back heart attacks, and so anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh. Well, guys, first of all, I want to thank you all. Never needed the ambulance service till December 2nd or 3rd. My mother fell and broke her shoulder, and you guys responded because I couldn't lift her myself without hurting her, and you guys did an awesome job. And after all these years of paying taxes and everything, it was really wonderful to actually use your services. None of you in this room were around in 2005 when I started filming. Unlike Mr. Hamer, I've been doing this for a very long time. And if you go check out my YouTube channel, you're going to see before your next meeting, the very first thing I filmed was when the state came down and we had a meeting at the community center with the state. And from there, we filmed for several years. We even had a forum for one of the elections, and I plan on doing that again. My channel was only on weekends before, and now we're on 24/7. So I'm looking for content, and this is content. So it's interesting that Mr. Hamer is also going to be doing this, but we are not doing the same things. I can trust me. So we don't see things from the same point of view. Lastly, I would like about 10 minutes, and I'm going to formally request for Mr. Moynihan to do a formal presentation about what I'm doing next month. So that's what I was hoping for today, is I'll submit it to him, but it's a presentation that's going to be a board decision. And so I will do that, before you guys do your agenda. So that's all that I have. But thank you for taking care of my mother. It was wonderful. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was here in 2005.
All right.
Not doing this stuff.
Am I next?
You're on.
Okay. All right, well, I have a handout here, but first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing us to serve you with your health insurance for your employees last year and over the last, I don't know how many years, but 6 or 7. So thank you very much, keeping your business with us here locally at Century Financial Group. And every year, just so you know, we do go out to bid. We don't just take what the carrier gave us, but we look at their plans and we kind of look at it from our experience of what we think is a good plan or a good suggestion, and then we go out to bid and we kind of look at maybe 1 or 2 plans from each available carrier. That isn't to say that there's not hundreds of plans out there, but we're kind of looking at, because of our experience and your group and your employees, we make suggestions. So this here is just kind of a suggestion on what we think you guys should do, but of course there's many other options. If you say, hey, we'd rather look at something that's higher deductible or maybe an HMO, we can always come back and look at those later on as maybe a follow-up. But just so you know, this is not 25 pages of stuff to look through. We really try to summarize it for you. In the past, we have had a high deductible option, just so you guys know, for the employees. And the year that we had the 2-plan option with the lower deductible and the higher deductible, all the employees went to the lower deductible. So this year we opted not to show you guys catastrophic plans, is what we call them. We decided to kind of stick with what the employees have picked over the last 2 years. So you'll see that on this sheet here as far as the suggestions. So if you guys want to I'm just going to give you a chunk here. I'm going to pass it around. And then I will walk you through this sheet once everybody gets it. Now there's a lot of little numbers and boxes on here, but again, we try to keep things as concise and kind of able to make a informed decision with hopefully what we summarized. And so you'll see on the top left, it says current plan on that black box, and that's the Anthem Gold PPO. This is when 2 years ago we had introduced this gold plan, is what we called it, and then we had a higher deductible. Everyone chose to go on this gold plan because it wasn't that much more expensive. You'll see next to it is what they call recommended plan. The reason they don't call it a renewal is one of the copays changed. So it shouldn't affect hopefully anybody in this group, but the tier 4 prescription went from $400 to $500. So that's the only medical plan change that Anthem made. So you'll see that says recommended. So the annual premium, or I should say monthly premium, went from $12,697 to $13,938. And then next to that is what we call an alternate plan. And this is a plan that we, Dave and I got together and just kind of analyzed all the options with Anthem. We're a little bit nervous to look at an HMO type plan just because of the state line, people in or living in New Mexico. With kids in college, things like that. And so when you get to those limited networks, you can save some money, but we don't like that necessarily because it does limit the options for some of the employees and where they can go, what doctors they can see, what prescriptions they can take. So this plan still leaves you on that really good PPO, what we call kind of the nicest network that they have, but it does increase the deductible by $500. And it increases the max out of pocket by $2,000. So the savings on that, is about $800 a month, minus $600 a year. But it does shift the cost, the out of pocket to the employees if they would use their insurance. But that's, to us, kind of a next step up. If the district wants to save some money on premium, that's kind of a good way to do it without, causing a lot of problems with the employees, and it's a minimal change. We always suggest looking at doing this even if finances aren't a problem, just because you don't want a situation where you have a huge 20 or 30% increase one year and we have to double the deductible or something like that on the employees. So it's never a bad idea to look at maybe stepping up, some of the benefits. The bottom left corner is Friday health plans. You notice this one is a lot less monthly premium. It's $9,800 instead of the current $13,000. This is an HMO, which means that it's a limited network, limited options, and that's why you'll see it reflected in the cost. It's something we quote, but we don't necessarily, we haven't had great experience, I would say, with them as far as clients that have been with them in the service and the prescriptions and things like that are hurdles. But it's reflected in the price. So if it's a situation where a TAD would not be able to offer insurance at all and they needed to offer something that was more affordable, this would be an option, but I wouldn't say that it's a great option for you guys as far as coverage, choice, network, things like that. Humana is obviously way out of the ballpark. And then United Healthcare, this is pretty typical. You'll see them, Anthem and United are kind of always neck and neck. We like to look at it, but that United Healthcare plan is very comparable to the alternate plan with Anthem, and it's about $100 more a month. So you'd still have to increase the deductible by $500 from the current, and the out-of-pocket would go up by $1,000. So I don't think that makes sense unless people are not happy with Anthem. But I like Anthem personally. I've been on Anthem, I've been on United, and I like Anthem better as far as their underwriting, their, just how they look at prescriptions and medical necessity, things like that. It gets pretty complex because carriers can look at things for medical necessity and say, well, you can't be on this prescription, you gotta try these other three. In Anthem, I feel like we have the least amount of problems as far as employee issues. And then the other suggestion I would like to make, just because I know that this comes up, is money out of people's paychecks. So right now the district covers 75% of the employee only and the family members. This is very generous. We don't typically see that. We'll see 75% of the employee only level is pretty standard, but as far as covering dependents, we've seen, since the ACA has come out, we've seen that kind of drop to 50% or even not at all. If you want to cover your family members, you pay for it. I know that's not a popular thing to say or do, but it's also a way for the district to save money. If you guys would drop from 75% the district covers down to 70%, it would save TAD about $8,700 a year, just roughly. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of a way to save money without cutting benefits. So if you stay in the same health plan and then just say, okay, employees, we're gonna take a little bit of hit and you guys are gonna take a little bit of hit and change that percentage. It doesn't have to be 70 or 75, it could be 68, it can be 70, it's whatever you guys choose, but just to kind of give you, it's always easy to kind of look at round numbers, and so I just kind of went from 75 down to 70, and that would save you guys $8,700 a year.
And did you do some math on this?
I did. So I took what we currently have as a premiums under our current plan and calculated out for what it would be October 1st, because we've had some older employees leave and hired some younger people and moved some to part-time. So with the current plan on October 1st, I calculated it would actually be $12,603.45 compared to what's on the sheet now at $12,697.92.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the same across the board for the recommended plan. It would come out to be $13,825.44, which is a 9.7% increase from our current plan. Mm-hmm. And then the third alternate plan did the same thing, and it came out to $13,086.01, which is a 3.8% increase compared to the current plan. So it's just kind of giving us more apples and apples on the dollar end of things.
Yeah, and this census here shows, that I have shows 11 people, actually 12. But we did recently, just this week, after I did all this stuff.
After you did all your good
we
stuff.
had 2 employees that went part-time.
Right.
And so they are coming off the plan as of 8/1. And I'm not sure, the
And I'll-
one new one we have.
Right, and then there'll be another one in
Oh, okay.
October, on
Okay, I
October
haven't seen that
1st.
one yet.
So I
Okay.
added her on
Okay.
there too, so, just so you had a little update.
And just so you know how it compares with your competitors in town, because that's always something that we want to consider is what the hospital's offering and what the city's offering and what other employers are offering, because I know it's very difficult to find people. Your plan is actually in many ways what we call richer. The benefits are better, and as Denise mentioned, that 75% for the family, that could draw someone down from Pueblo or Springs, because you just simply don't see that anymore. A lot of people, and I know this from being a tax guy, will just insure the employee, and then the rest of the family, they put the kids on the Medicaid, and the spouse gets their insurance where they work, and people are getting very creative with how they can insure their entire family these days. And a lot of people might come in and say, you know what, just to get you to do something, the $10,000 price tag looks great, but we've been at this so long, and we see how the insurers treat their consumer, and Anthem and Cigna both are leading the way with regard to that. United is getting really tight with their checkbook, and it's funny because if you look at all these plans, it's very similar. I kind of compare it to the Taco Bell menu. It's the same 5 ingredients, just in a different format, and and it is really. But what the insurance companies know is the deductible scares the hell out of the consumer. But what we really need to look at is that max out of pocket. Only 1% of all Americans use their deductible, and 17%, actually only 17% use some of their deductible, only 1% use all of it. So 1% out of a group of 13 means that one person in this building may hit their max out of pocket. And that's where it gets scary. If they have a $100,000 or $300,000 surgery, they're going to hit the $6,000 or $7,000, and that's a pretty hefty price tag to pay. And so the deductible is not that big of a deal if you just go get an MRI or you happen to get like a $10,000 surgery, because your deductible plus a percentage, you're never going to see your max out of pocket. So we think all that through, and we try and consider those things as well to find that balance with what to put on this page, because she literally went over probably 200 plans. And so HMOs are quite frightening right now, not just because of the overstate lines, but it used to be where you had a PPO network with each company, and then you had an HMO network with each company. Now, United has 10 HMO networks, and they call them high performance networks or streamlined networks. These are doctors that are willing to take far less than their competitors for the same service. And when you find a doctor that's willing to take far less, you're probably getting that same level of service. You get what you pay for in the industry. And so the PPO keeps your employees in the highest quality care that this state has to offer. And to give you an example of that, the state exchange stopped offering PPOs 5 or 6 years ago because they keep, no one could afford them. As an employer, since you're using the law of large numbers to really access this network for your staff. So, just to throw in those 2 cents.
Well, I think since I've been here, we've tried to keep the benefits as close to when we even went into the reimbursement accounts and all that.
Yep.
So, which I think David said kind of helped a lot.
Did. That was a really creative way, and the funny thing is when we had that health reimbursement arrangement, then the insurance companies started going out with their questionnaire saying, do you have a health reimbursement arrangement? If you have one, we know you're taking some of our profit. They would have a 2% upcharge if you had a legal HRA in place. And so it's kind of funny. We try and keep as many cards up our sleeve as we can, but we don't want to play them all in one year. So maybe 2 years from now, we are looking at a higher deductible, or we are looking at a max out of pocket, or we're looking at a different network. But today we're playing just a few of those cards.
Yeah, so I think the recommended plan has always worked out well for us. both customer service wise, price wise, benefit wise, and I haven't heard the people complain about the Anthem plan at all. They seem to be pleased with it, so I think that's the one that keeps us at the same level of benefits that we've tried to maintain. Even when we had the big jump and then we couldn't keep the same plan, that's when we had the HRAs. Now the HRAs you can't do anymore, so that would be,
So I think the city of Trinidad, just to, like Dave was talking about for comparison, their deductible is, it used to be around 3,000.
It's three.
The hospital was right around 2,500. The school district, I'm not sure anymore. If you guys know, you can spit it out, but.
The national average is 3.
Yeah, so you guys definitely have an above average plan. I know you are competing. We have hospital clients in Pueblo and Denver and up north, even doctors. I know that's not the same industry, but they're typically right. We see them right around the $2,500 mark, $5,000 for a max out of pocket. So you guys are above average even for a big city. You could even go 50% on the dependent if you wanted to. What some employers are doing is
I
they're.
want to make it out of this building alive.
Okay, sorry. Well, I'm saying they're bumping up the employee though to 90%. They're saying, hey, we'll pay 90% of the employee only because we really want to take care of our employees, but we can't take on, all the dependents. So they'll have different percentages, for employee versus a dependent. And so you have a lot of creativity with that. I know Barbara does a great job with her spreadsheets and analyzing all that. And so it might be worth, kind of looking or talking about, how those percentages play out. But as far as your actual plan, I do think, going to the recommended plan is, especially since they did not increase your co-pays other than that one prescription on the tier 5 or tier 4, those are injectables, went from $400 to $500. A lot of carriers, like you'll notice on the United Healthcare plan, they're putting a $150 deductible on the brand right off the top. And that's separate from the medical deductible. So like Dave said, it's a Taco Bell menu, so all they're doing is just kind of shifting it around to make it look nicer because people are so hyper-focused on that deductible, but they're not seeing that they put $10 on the specialist copay and they put that $150 deductible and people get surprised at it, they don't see it, and then I get calls all the time, people at the pharmacy and I'm like, what happened, Denise? You told me we were renewing and now I gotta pay $100 for my prescription, and that's because they threw that little $100 or $150 deductible on that brand copay or brand prescription, and they just slipped it in, and they think people aren't going to notice. And so it's just a way to keep premiums down because it's getting more and more difficult, as you guys know.
Questions?
Comments?
we have to have this in place in September.
So September 1st, I can, as long as you guys tell me, I mean, if you're not making any major changes or anything, the thing that the carriers just say is they'd like to know by the 15th of the month before cards go out. And sometimes what happens is they'll automatically send out cards if they're ahead of the game on the old plan, and then you'll get another set of cards on the new plan. But we do like people to have cards by 9/1, but you're certainly not, required to tell me today or anything like that. But if you, hopefully before the next meeting that you guys have, you can give us an answer, and so we can let Anthony know so we can get the right cards in people's hands.
And we can also set up a time to meet with the employees, because it's important. One of the things that we try and really focus on is, and I know no one really cares about health insurance until they're using it or they're sitting in an emergency room. We really do try and make sure that the staff understand all their benefits and know that how good they are. First of all, we want to point out, look, you have an employer that really puts, 33% of most people's comp now is benefits. And so we like people to know that, but we also want them to understand that it's important to stay in network. It's important to ask for a generic drug instead of a brand drug if they can avoid it. We try and educate them, because a lot of times we can't fix things after they've already been done. We have some folks in our office that do a lot of claims chasing, and they resolve claims. I don't know if any of you have had Denise do that for you, where she'll go through your EOB or your bill and figure out whether you owed something or not. It's funny, because we're in this business, and it happens to me almost every time I go to the doctor. I get in an argument with the front desk about how much I'm actually supposed to pay, and then they send me my check back because they wouldn't let me pass the door until I gave them my credit card. And so a lot of times we need to defend the employee. We need to look out for them and save them money. And so spending time with them and having those employee meetings is critical. So we need time to schedule that. That's not me.
Sorry.
So that's all we had for you guys today. And unless you have any questions, we'll bail out of your meeting and leave you alone.
One, I'd say, my recommendation was their recommendation to go with the recommended plan.
For discussion on anything? Okay, so we need to vote on accepting that plan. So I need a motion and a second so we can vote.
Make a motion, set the plan, recommended plan.
Floyd will second.
Roll call?
Kathy,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
So Dan, we'll get with you scheduling the time to come back.
I can do it with Barbara.
Oh, Barbara, sorry.
Yeah, and then, just let me know too about the percentages and how you guys wanna do your payroll deductions, and then I will let Bernadette know for payroll.
And as much as I want to learn about the fleet management, is it okay for you?
You are here to go.
What you missed, you can go back and watch on Tom's channel.
I was on Tom's channel back in 2005 cooking, remember? Yeah, chocolate pie. So anyway, thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Make it through there.
Okay, what are you up to?
Okay, review of regular meeting minutes from June 23rd, 2021. And we also had our special meeting minutes on July 7th. So let's do the regular meeting minutes first. Any corrections,
You gonna bring them up?
issues?
Are you bringing them up here? You know?
Do you have them on there?
I
No?
did, I can.
Well, it doesn't matter that paragraph talking about Dan volunteering not to drive a TAD vehicle to Oklahoma. It listed a VIN number,
Yeah,
and I don't remember any discussion about a VIN number.
well, I just clarified it, the vehicle.
Okay, it's any vehicle, I thought. I
Okay.
mean, I thought that's what he said. Maybe if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay.
And then there was a sentence in there. I hate to keep talking about it. There was a sentence in there that said, "Despite the fact he's on call." That's a subjective statement.
On that same part?
And I think one paragraph, I should have printed them out.
I don't see it on that paragraph unless I'm missing it, Clay.
Yeah, well, I might be hallucinating.
No, maybe it's
I'm
somewhere else
retired now, I
though.
don't know what I'm doing. Yes.
Because there's the one with the bin that I saw.
Yeah, even though he's subject to callback for TAD business, I don't, it's whatever you guys will do. I just think that's a subjective statement.
Anybody else for discussion on that? With the bin or the statement?
No, I'm okay with the change of the VIN.
Okay.
No big deal.
Okay, so we need a motion and a second
So
with,
I'll move to approve them with the
With the
changes.
change, with the
with the
VIN number
removal of the
change?
bin number.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I need a second.
Floyd seconds.
Okay. Roll call?
Kathy,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, special meeting minutes from July 7th. Anything on those?
No.
Okay. Then we need a motion and a second to accept them from the meeting on July 7th.
Floyd motion.
Okay.
I'll second. Claire second.
Okay, roll call?
Kathy,
Yes?
Nick,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Those are signed. All right, financial and billing report for June 2021.
Okay, our total cash on hand is $3,589,737. Again, that's money that's been there for 9 years that we just haven't spent. It goes up now because we're getting our tax money in, and then it drops down, January, February, March. Accounts receivable for the trips we did is $838,910, which is twice as much as we were seeing. The billing company has really been getting on the ball and going after the delinquent accounts. So that was good to see. District is $319,145 ahead of last year's total income. That's a 21% increase. Expenses are down more than $47,000 compared to last year, which is a 4.3% decrease. So our January through June income for 2020 was $1,521,595. January through June 21 was $1,847,39. Net income for May was $335,624, which is a good month for us. That's all I got.
Why the decrease in expenses?
Just haven't spent as much money on different, yeah. And we got that new contract with Oxygen and things, so there's been a lot of things that have,
You're trimming down.
yeah.
Good.
Okay. Other discussion by the board?
Nope.
Then I need to set that report.
Make a motion to accept the report.
Second?
Okay, roll call?
Kathy,
Yes?
Nick,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Valerie,
yes,
Clay,
Yes.
Okay, director's report. Dan, you're on.
Hey, environmental report was issued and sent to all the appropriate parties. USDA is in some sort of a personnel crisis. State architect has resigned. They had a big meeting with the players up in Denver. They have an acting state supervisor, and so they're trying to get reorganized and get things back on track. That state supervisor actually called me last night at about 5:30 to let me know that she had talked with several people. So we had the young lady that was in Los Animas that was with Rural Development left and went to Louisiana. They put a new young lady in there that hadn't done rural development before, the community development grant. So she's kind of learning as she was going. The gentleman that was helping her was actually helping us in the beginning. We met him, we met the state architect, and we met this woman, Michelle Graham. Now we have a young lady by the name of Jennifer Garcia with USDA, and she's the one that's supposed to be our lead person. And we were supposed to have a conference call on where we were in this process, and we went 35 days without contact, trying to get anybody to respond. Emails, phone calls, different people, we didn't get any response. On July 22nd, and I think that was part of this, is I was emailing. The only consistent contact we had was the state architect, Jacob Loreska. And when we were told that he resigned, and actually I learned that from the woman that did our environmental report. When I learned that he left, I was like, well, now, we're not going to get any contact. So apparently his leaving kind of sparked some stuff up there. We got some movement. So she's supposedly getting a mentor from the national office to show her how to do her new job. The water tap has been installed, so we're good to go there. Everything on the building, we're just waiting on USDA. We don't know. We've done everything that they've asked us to do up to this point. They couldn't download the environmental report. I tried to download it and email it, but it says it's too big for the server. So we're gonna have to find a way to get it to her so she can open it. Yeah, snail mail. But how many pages was it? It's ridiculous, right? I mean, it's like this.
It's big. It's an inch thick, if that.
Okay, interfacility transport. So I received an email from John Tucker on July 13th where he asked about, at the ER trauma meeting, that we are delaying transfers due to shift change. which is what's been going on for 9 years. And that's just because we don't want to have crews who are leaving and then they're over their 24-hour period. It's a payroll and a safety issue. So on the 14th, I had a crew come and tell me that they had heard from Rob Bukovac that the hospital was contracting with AMR for their transfers. So on the 15th, I responded to John and said, basically, luck would have it, Rob said that you're going to be contracting with AMR, so that should address the issues. Didn't hear back from John, but on the 20th, I got an email from Clay saying that he wanted to, I guess, get together and come up with a plan of action regarding the hospital contract. So, I guess, what would you consider to be a plan of action?
Well, what are transfers worth to the district? How much money?
I'm asking what your plan of, whatever they're worth, what would the plan of action be towards the hospital?
The plan of action would be, what I would expect is for you to have set up a meeting and talk to John Tucker about what's going on. That's the plan. Why didn't you
I
bother
responded to John, he didn't
No,
respond.
you responded with a smart ass letter. That's not a letter. I hear from somebody. I heard from Joe Smith downtown that you guys are going to do AMR. Good luck with that.
I didn't think
That's
the person
ridiculous.
who had a management position at the hospital was Joe Blow downtown. That was a representative of
Why?
the hospital, and John Tucker did not.
My
Say that
question,
wasn't
my question is,
true.
why didn't you feel as the director that you thought, oh my God, AMR is going to come in here and take our transfers?
Well, why
much
do you
is that
think,
worth?
why should I feel that way? Because is it the belief that it's 50% of our revenue?
How much is it? How much is it
Well, I'm
worth?
asking, that's what you said.
You don't know? Tell me.
No,
how
I know.
much.
I know.
Tell me how
I'm
much
just-
it's worth to
Okay?
this district in a year.
So I guess I'm concerned in that the only people that were copied on that were Mandy and Dr. Case. I heard from you, I never heard back from John Tucker. You weren't at the hospital, so I don't know how this is getting to you. It seems like you're inserting yourself in a hospital contract negotiation, which, as you just said, should be
Is it
between.
not possible for
me
you
and
to tell
John
me how
Tucker.
much transfers are worth to this board?
Is
To
what?
this district? How much money are transfers worth in a year to the Trinidad Ambulance District? How
Okay.
much are we losing?
That's in here. What's changed since Dr. Eckler left that would prompt a meeting between AMR and Mount St. Raphael Hospital? And just wondering if any such discussions with AMR are just rumor being used to force us to comply with demands of the hospital, because that was a conversation I had with Dr. Eckler over a year ago, that they've met with AMR, and nothing ever happened. So I guess the first question is, does our service plan require us to contract with the hospital? This is in the service plan. So if the board wants to read that, tell me how they interpret that.
Where is that supposed to be?
That is in our service plan that was voted on approved by the voters.
No,
Yes,
no, it's not.
absolutely it is.
It's on file with the county.
No, show it to me, because that's not what I pulled off. I might have a wrong one, show me.
I have it on another document, but I can definitely show it to you. It is part of the service plan.
All right, what's your point?
Well, the point is, does it mean that we're supposed to contract with the hospital? Because it seems to me that's what it said.
If I say I'm supposed to contract
So then,
with somebody, go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
the question is, can the hospital actually afford the contract for ambulance services? And when I look at the 2018 tax returns for the hospital, they made a profit of $3.5 million. That's the latest returns that I could bring up on the IRS website. The top 3 management positions were paid $750,000, with Tucker making almost $350,000, Rollins making almost $225,000, and Mandy making over $180,000. So my feeling is, it would appear that the hospital is in a financial position where they could afford the contract with the district if they so desire. So I want to know, why is the issue of interfacility transports coming up again? And who exactly brought this to your attention? Is John Tucker,
Don't
instead
worry
of
about who
calling
talks to
me?
me. Don't worry about who talks to me.
Well, I'm
A lot of people
just,
talk.
you wanna know why John Tucker doesn't contact me, I'm just
No,
wondering
no.
who's contacting you?
No, that's not what I said.
Oh. How do we know that the meeting hasn't taken place? How did you reach the conclusion that the district's total revenue comes from providing IFTs to Mount St. Raphael Hospital? And is that the belief of the hospital administration, that 50% of our income comes from that?
I don't know what they believe.
If the hospital wanted to contract with us to perform their transports, why haven't they contacted us about this? Why go to AMR and not contact us? Why would the hospital contract with an out-of-town company owned by a private equity firm, which is KKR, thereby sending money outside the community instead of offering us a contract? And is there any such negotiation? This is almost verbatim what I was told by Dr. Eckler before he left Mount St. Raphael. It doesn't appear it was true then. I kind of doubt it's true now. So here's our draft budget. This is copied and pasted from the budget itself, and I don't see anything in there. This is what you cited in your email. I don't see anything in there that talks about interfacility transfers. So
Tell me where it is. Tell me how much we're making.
well,
off the transfers.
your email to me says
It wasn't to you, it was to
at
the
the
board.
20
It was to the
2021
board and I copied you.
right.
So it wasn't to you.
So I'm saying, it says that in the 2021 projected budget,
Yeah.
that half of it appears to you that 50% of our income comes from interfacility transfers. I'm asking where
Service fees.
in there, okay,
Service fees.
okay. So your belief that all our service fees are nothing but hospital transfers?
No, it's 911 as well.
Well, yeah. So financial statements from December 2019 shows income for the year is $2,588,490. For 2020 shows $2,227,472. The revenue for 2019 and 20 totaled $4,815,816,000, and the total revenue generated by transfers was $547,000 in 2 years. That's not 50%.
Okay,
Okay.
don't attack me. Just
There's
because I'm trying to get the
that's
numbers right.
11.3% of the district's total revenue. There were 657 interfacility transports in 2019 and 2020. 468 were to Raton and Pueblo. 171 went to Colorado Springs, which is way up from what we used to do. We used to do maybe once a month. And 17 went to Denver area hospitals. 26% of interfacility transports went beyond Pueblo. Are these money makers for the district? Well, 146,510 total miles put on our vehicles, 19 and 20, it should be 20, performing IFTs. And that's conservatively. I just took the billed miles and multiplied it times 2. That doesn't include any of the other miles of fuel and all that other stuff. As of 7/26, I went out and looked at 1901, which we bought specifically to do these transfers. Been in service just over 2 years, has 142,059 miles on it. It's being remounted at a cost of, the quote was for 101,000, and we learned that the liquid spring suspension has to be added, so that's going to be another $10,000. So that's $111,000, which is about 20% of the total transfer income in one item. The IFTs are our greatest use of oxygen, just due to the amount of hours that the people are on the road. 1901 was purchased at a cost of $125,000 to reduce the mileage on our primary response vehicles, the 4-wheel drives. And that was purchased by the district out of pocket. We got no grant funds on that. From May 2019 through December 2020, it cost $32,758 in fuel and maintenance to keep the unit on the road. Expense includes, it excludes fuel and maintenance for the first 5 months of 2019, during which our first response vehicles were used for IFTs, which are much more expensive to run. Crews are unavailable for 911 calls for about approximately 3 hours on Pueblo trip. They're unavailable for about 5.5 hours on trips to Colorado Springs, and a Denver area transfer takes the crew out for about 8 hours, which is a full 1/3 of their shift. The primary reason we have on-call crews at all is due to interfacility transfers. Our on-call pay is approximately $52,500 a year. When the crews are called in, whether or not they run a call, they're paid at time and a half. IFTs present the greatest chance for crews to be exposed to liability, falling asleep, inclement weather, the chance for contracting infectious diseases, etc., are all greater when performing IFTs. An indirect cost of IFTs is recruitment and retention. The vast majority of our crew members say that's the worst part of their job, is performing the IFTs. So in 2019-2020, brought in 547 for both years, put almost 150,000 miles on our vehicles, had to purchase a separate vehicle at $125,000, put $142,000 on one vehicle in 26 months, and now we have to spend $111,000 to get it remounted. IFT unit was $33,000 basically in fuel and maintenance, excluding January through May. And it's a total of 11% of our income, minus all the expenses involved with these IFTs. Is that a good return on investment? And then,
Wait, you got more? I have to remember all my points.
okay, so what we got, every place where you see red in there is a trip that AMR would not do. And how do I know that? Because I was a regional manager for AMR. Gabe was an AMR employee.
I was actually an operations supervisor for the very operation that's going to come down here and contract.
So every one of those red calls you see is a call that AMR would not do. There's been multiple times when the hospital has called us and we told them that was already a truck out of town, so they would have to wait for a transfer. And they said, well, we're going to call AMR. And we said, okay, you know, do what you need to do. And then we get a call back and they say, well, we decided we're going to let you take it. And we know the reason why, because AMR is not going to go to Aurora for $0. Aurora again for $0. And I mean, look at our Medicaid, and here's $0, $0, $0, $0. That's our reimbursement on these things. $0, $177, $179. AMR is not going to send a crew down from Pueblo to transport somebody, hour and a half down, hour and a half back for $177. And I'm just telling you that because I know. Highlands Ranch for $500. I mean, the ones in purple are pretty much I mean, look at all these transfers that are in red. $357, $339 to go to Aurora. That's, so, another $541 for Aurora. 0, 0. There's plenty of zeros in here.
81. 81 zeros.
But, you know, we spent time on this. Clay asked a question. We wanted to make sure we got the facts. To put them up here, here's just 2019 by itself. Look at all the zeros. Zeros, zeros, $181. Zeros, 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 zeros. You can't scroll all the way down without hitting zeros. Those are all losses, and all these ones that are $267, those are all losses. So, I mean, it's up to the board, but I don't think that telling the district that we may having to lose money on these is a threat. That's 2020.
So one thing is too, guys, is we have never not done a transfer on payer status, which means.
Thank God.
Whether they're.
That would mean your license.
Which means, but AMR does.
I don't,
because they're
with all due respect, folks, you don't work for AMR, you don't work for AMR, neither do you. You're sitting here telling me, I could sit here and tell you what somebody else would think and what they would do. That's my opinion, and AMR conversation is your opinion. You worked for them, I appreciate that.
100% I can tell you.
No, I appreciate your opinion. That's what it is. Thank you. That's not my point. My point is, you said transfers are expensive. Yes, we know that, right? The mileage on the vehicles, the time out of the district, very expensive to do. Crew doesn't like doing them. Nothing new. We didn't like doing them when I was there. Nobody wants to drive up and down that highway. I agree with you 100%. You made money off of them. You made $500,000, according to you, in those 2 years. Is that not money?
Yeah,
but
At what cost?
No, you made, no,
No, that's our total payments.
No.
Yes.
No, you said you made 11% of your income was.
11% of our total income is
Yeah.
interfacility transport.
Yeah. So you made
Not
money.
50%.
Okay, I read the wrong number.
But still.
I don't believe
It's an
911 pays that
expense.
well, but
It's an
Whatever.
expense, Clay. That's the thing.
it is expense.
It's-
You can't drive your car without expense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
It's
If
an expense.
your expense gets too much, what do? You get a different car.
If that is what that thing says about that Taha agreement with the contract,
But it
I-
doesn't, that's not a mandate. That said we should
But it-
contract with them. That's all it says. It doesn't mean the other person has a
that's what the
contract with
voters
you.
voted on. So
No, they didn't. No, they voted on,
From Dora.
So the
Listen,
thing is
okay.
if that's the case for that, if that's true what they're saying, Clay, then our responsibility as a citizen of this county.
and it is to provide for the treatment and transportation of the sick, injured, and otherwise incapacitated or helpless. That's what we're supposed to be doing here.
The
And
citizens
that's
of our
what we're
county.
doing.
No,
So-
but now-
Yes,
but-
no, but listen, we are doing it. It's proof right there. It's proof right there.
Okay, you're doing it.
And we're not complaining about doing it. We are limited. We are a rural community.
Right.
It's hard to find staff.
Right.
We just had this last discussion at our other meetings that we've had to change the
Sure.
staffing around, but we did it to
Sure.
provide the service to our community. So I think where the frustration's coming, having been here as long as I have been, is that this is a continued regurgitation of the same thing for, I don't know what. I sit here trying to figure it out. We are providing the service we can provide to the best of our ability.
Okay, but let me say about that, stop right there, that's a good point. Lots of EMS services, you guys can attest to this, alter when their shifts start. The reason they do that is to cover things that come in at shift change, right?
Mhm.
No, they do that because they're running system status management, which is also called flexible deployment, which means that they staff the number of units that will be on that historically come in for that time of that day of the week and that hour of the day. So that's why there are fewer units on at 6 a.m. or at 8 a.m. and at 10 a.m. because as call volume goes up, capacity goes up. And even AMR goes down to level 0, which means they have no trucks available in Pueblo. And that's just, so it's not because of things that are coming in, it's because I know historically I have 4 calls between midnight and 4 a.m. every hour. So I'm gonna staff 5 trucks and give myself 1 extra. From I don't know, 8 a.m. to noon, I'm gonna have 20 calls. So I need to put 22 trucks out to make
Which
sure.
is what we talked about and looked at the meeting that we were at, and that's why they staffed the one team without the medic, with just some guys backing them up here, willing to back them up. They're doing the best that they can with the resources we have in our community. So I don't understand why this keeps coming up like we are not doing something.
Well, the complaint is
That's where
that
my
we're only available 22 out of 24 hours a day, and those other 2 hours are just a crisis that we have to fix.
If you go to a McDonald's, you go to a store and you have a complaint about something, don't you want to talk to somebody about it? If you got a complaint about your food, excuse me, sir, I'm complaining about my food, can I talk to your manager?
Right.
That's what John Tucker did. He sent you a letter and said, hey, I have an issue with shift change, it seems like, because he's hearing from ER, he's hearing from doctors or something. That's what prompted that. So he says,
And,
hey,
and a lot of times it's, one thing that gets translated into always
okay,
or
but
every time.
I understand.
So there does need to be a discussion. I do
But,
hear
okay,
what you're saying.
so we had, as a district, we had somebody, our customer come to us and say, hey, I got an issue with this shift change thing, these reports I'm hearing about transfers being delayed. What can we do about it? And the response he got from the district was, well, you got AMR coming, why don't you let them take care of it?
Because
That's
you
not
act
what
as
we
though that's
want.
the first time we ever heard of it when it's been brought up at every ER trauma meeting that Bubba goes to.
Well, I'm not sure he goes to the meeting.
Not anymore,
Right.
but every
That's
meeting he
helpful.
went to.
That's helpful.
Well, it's very helpful, because
not
why do you
helpful.
want to keep going to the same meetings?
He
being
would have
told
heard him
the
in the
same-
trauma
Being
meeting.
told the same thing, and when you have requests, they're ignored, and when something is asked of you, it's a demand. And if it's not complied with, then we end up having,
So you had a request from the John Tucker to talk to me about this issue of shift change, and you said, I'm not doing it, I'm not even gonna respond to your request.
well, what, if he's contracting, I hear from a hospital, a crew says they spoke to a hospital manager, I believe he has the same position, took it over from you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so he's a manager at the hospital telling a crew that they are contracting with AMR. So, why am I gonna change my staffing when I'm
You're
being
not.
told by
You're
a
not gonna
hospital
change your-
manager
I wouldn't
that-
expect you to.
Okay, if I could finish.
No, I
why
would expect you to
why
pick
would
up
I
the phone
change
and
my
call John
staff?
Tucker.
Why would I change my staffing when I'm being told that the problem is gonna be resolved?
I'm not
That's
asking you to
ridiculous.
change your staffing. I'm not saying do anything. You pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. Tucker, let's meet. Let's talk about these transfers.
Because I'm the one that did that. I'm the one that called John Tucker and corrected him on the $200,000 a month subsidy. And I invited him to tequilas. You know, you can dude me all you want.
I'm not talking about
all right?
2 years ago, Dan. I'm
I
talking
am,
about
because
a
this
month.
is, Kathy just said, these are the same conversations from 2 years ago.
I agree.
I have a guy that calls me on the
So
phone,
you're
tells
not-
me that I'm getting $200,000 a month in subsidy from Los Animas County, which is a lie. But those are the rumors he believes, which is probably the same rumor as 50% of our income comes from Mount St. Raphael Hospital. That's not true.
And wouldn't you have appreciated it when he said 200,000 that he went and checked that out first? And
He didn't
say
say
something?
Right, but so what did I do? I didn't have any animus towards him. I said, John, let's you and I go have lunch at Tequila's. I'll buy, let's get this worked out. We go, we have lunch. You know what? I did everything I was supposed to do. He was going to get back to me. Never heard from him, which is the same that happened in this email. He says something, and then it's dropped. He could have come back and said, hey, Dan, that may not be the case, so, you know, can we talk about
He was
this?
asking you to
Which
talk
would have been
about
fine.
it.
He wasn't
Okay,
asking
what's
me
your-
to talk about it. He was
what's your
asking
plan
me to
in
change
your-
he asked me to change my shifts.
He's asking you to solve the problem that he sees. It's incumbent upon
He
you
feels-
to
he
go
feels-
figure it out.
Completely at ease in recommending to the ambulance district how to run their operations. The same way Mandy Schaefer told David, we were just down to 2 trucks, told David that we should sell one of our trucks and hire and bring on another crew. We'd have had no trucks here the other day.
What has that got to do with it?
Because the people feel, you don't understand,
cares
Clay,
who-
that you have people who feel that they are completely within their means, within their rights, to tell us how to run our operation. I have never once told them how to run that hospital. You do what you do,
Well,
I do what I do.
This is a public run thing here, taxpayer supported, so I think you should expect opinions from a lot of people.
I get opinions from a lot of
All right,
people,
then don't
but I
have
also
to.
have a service plan that says I'm supposed to run you can read that any way you want to, but read the other part down there that says that the purpose of it is to have people survive from cardiac arrest and trauma.
Yeah.
That's not interfacility transfers.
Yes, it is.
No, you can say that, but then if
But
that's
it
the
is.
truth,
But
if
it
it is,
is.
then why does it say contract with Taha?
Why, it says contract with the county.
Right, and that was changed in the last, when Brandon was here, and they changed that and gave us the tax levy instead of going through that whole mathematical thing. But where was it changed to contract with Taha?
Just because it says it in our half doesn't mean they have to do it. That's you telling them what to do, isn't it?
No, it's not anybody telling anybody. That was what was in the service plan.
I don't
That was
think so.
approved by,
Dora's got it on file.
Dora sent it to
Well, I'd like to
us.
get a copy of that. You know,
Absolutely.
I'll send you the email.
I have it on my desk.
Along with, since I'm getting all upset here, along with my list of checks, my credit card statements that I've asked for, the fact that you've opened up an Amazon account for the district and not your personal one, that you requested,
You
that I'm requesting.
Yes.
I just want to see that it was done. or why it's not done, I guess. Some things that have been building up in my head, and I get them off my chest.
Because that Barbara has to sit there and pull, if you wanna look at anything, you're
I
more than
appreciate
welcome to
that's
come
more
in here
work
and
for
look at it
Barbara.
at any time.
I appreciate that's more work for Barbara. I'm asking for something as a board member, I expect to get it.
You have never put a request specifically to me.
For checks, oh, this is checks? I never asked you? You said, yeah, you could do it?
But
Okay.
we, you know.
I'll put it in writing
And
for
we
you.
had this discussion though too.
I hate to
Correct.
bring up old
I know,
stuff, I
I
wanna
know.
get past
Why-
that.
But I
why are
just
we
want-
going backwards?
I wanna get past it, I agree with you.
Yeah,
but-
I just
but-
want to bring up
I haven't
because
got them, that's why.
we talked about this again way back, and
Okay,
if
but,
my memory serves me, and I could be wrong, but help me, board, remember. But I thought the agreement was so that you'd have your answers, you were going to come here and sign checks.
it's not always possible.
I get that.
I want a
But
list of checks.
If I have questions, I come here and look at what I need to look at. And
I
I've done
appreciate
that for
I
my,
appreciate that.
you know, and I'm not retired, I have a full-time
understand.
job. But, and I get that things come up, I do, truly,
Sure.
because there's times that I can't, so that's on me. I didn't
Sure.
make the effort to come in to get my answer, and that's on me.
Okay,
But,
I apologize for bringing up old stuff. I agree with Nick. I'll end it right now. Now, back to this.
yeah, so back to this.
What is your plan? What is your plan for the budget?
Can I
I
finish?
apologize, go ahead, yes. let's-
I'm hearing what you're asking for, okay? I'm hearing that the response given was not what we would expect to give
Correct.
to a customer, as you put it.
Sure, sure.
I think we can address that. That's
Okay.
a simple thing. But I also think if I'd have had that issue, I would have brought it just straight to him and said, hey, that was a
Listen,
little.
I report to you, you're
Yeah.
the chairman of the board, and I report to taxpayers. I sent an email to the whole board with my questions.
Mhm.
Hey, I was, the numbers were inaccurate, as Dan pointed out, appreciate that. I sent out an email, this is the first response now, so now we're discussing it.
Right.
Right.
But if it's an issue with the way that he has responded as a board member, we have that right to come to him directly and say.
My issue is my issue is, what are we gonna do about the loss of income?
But
Right.
here's the thing, Clay, sorry, is yes, it's expensive to transport people.
Yeah.
In the bottom end, the district is, if you really think about it, 11% is not that much, and we are putting many trucks on the road.
Sure.
And in the end, we are literally taking a loss, if you really think about
But
it.
it isn't our job to take care of patients and transport
Correct,
them?
but here's the
Which
thing.
is what we're doing
Yes,
at a
we
loss.
are, at a loss.
So keep doing it. So
But-
don't stop your transfers.
But we're a business, if you think about it.
Where did
Yeah.
that come from?
You never said we were stopping transfers.
No. the
Well, if
tra-
it goes to AMR, how many think you're gonna
Hey,
have?
but you know what?
They're the ones that wanted a contract.
We
We
can't
never
control what the
changed
hospital wants to
anything.
do. Of course not, but you can still fight for the business.
Why would?
No, don't want it.
I-
If they want
Well,
a
no,
contract with
that's,
AMR,
sir,
I think that's
ridiculous.
a good business decision on our part.
No,
Yes,
no.
it's good
You-
for recruitment and
no,
retention.
you owe it to the
retention, it's good
taxpayers
for-
to transfer.
I-
Otherwise,
I-
give back the tax money.
So if they're contracting with AMR, they're still getting transferred. So what's your argument? You're arguing that AMR is gonna do them, but AMR shouldn't do them. So
And
if,
I think the thing that's getting lost in translation here, just too, because we are in this public meeting, I want people to understand transfers and what we're talking about are non-emergent transfers. These are non-emergent transfers we're talking about in this 11%. If there's an emergency, somebody goes down, has to go up emergent, they're going. They have never not taken somebody emergent or put someone
I am
off
not saying
emergent.
they don't transfer patients in the past. I am saying that a problem was brought to your attention and you didn't do anything about it.
and in one of the transfers, where did it go the other day? To the waiting room?
It's
Springs?
it's not up to you, it's not up to me to decide what the ER doctors are responsible, Dan, and you know that. But if they send them to Parkview and Parkview puts them in that chair, that's what they do. That's what Parkview does. That's not up to us. The ER doctor thinks it's a need for a transfer. What is so hard about that? They're in charge of the
So
patient.
Clay, if I may.
Because
so-
our rules are not in Tala. Your rules are in Tala. Our rules are CMS.
I understand.
Okay,
The
then.
taxpayers gave you money, and they said, here,
But
Trinidad
our
ambulance-
taxpayers are giving us
For
money
911.
to handle 911
No,
calls here in our
sir,
county.
no, that was not, that's
just
not.
Yes, it
that.
is. If
No.
it wasn't, why would they include a specific thing in there to contract with the hospital for transfers? If that wasn't a separate item.
I maybe to understand, the problem is that you think, when they say contract with the hospital, that you think it's that the TAD is gonna contract with the hospital's gonna pay TAD to get a transfer done.
That's what a contract is.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I have
Oh,
to
yeah.
agree. Honestly, Clay. Here's how I look at it. Okay, I run a small business.
Yeah.
Okay? If I'm in the negatives, I don't make no money. I can't
Right.
operate.
Is that really how we're gonna do this?
But
We're gonna run this like a business, and I'm sorry, sir, because of your insurance, you don't pay us well enough?
Nobody ever said that.
Right,
Dave.
nobody
I think
said
you
that,
can
but
see
that's
that
not
with
what
all,
we do.
I think you
You
can
are-
see that with all the
you-
zeros up there.
No, you
No,
are
that
putting,
didn't impress
you are
me.
putting different words out here, and I don't appreciate that.
Well,
That is not at all what our
I want
financials say.
TAD to transfer patients like we're supposed to
I'm
do,
not
it
sure what's
says
going
so.
on here, Clay, but you're all over the place. So can
Thank
we
you.
please just keep moving on, because you are bringing up
Okay,
Yeah.
can
things in
we,
a multi-skilled fashion, and I'm not understanding.
okay, let me close it
Please
out.
keep moving on. I feel like this is just turning into a big bitch session, and I'm really disappointed to hear all this, because it's all redundant
Yep,
from the past.
yep, we haven't
So
solved the
can we please
problem.
just keep moving forward?
Okay, let me close it out then. Can we please have the director of TAD talk to the CEO or whatever of the hospital and rule out and fix the problem with the shift change transfers?
I don't think so. Honestly.
Okay,
Here's my thing. I think TAD has gone above and beyond for these people, and they keep
you
wanting
understand,
more.
you understand it's not for the hospital that you transfer a patient.
I get that,
Okay.
but we
It's
also
for the
have
patient.
but I get that, and I
Alright.
understand that.
All right,
But I think TAD has to take care of their number one, their employees.
okay.
Okay, we can't have them people on the road at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay, I thought it was an
Yeah.
ambulance service.
But here, so I look at it this way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I want to throw my 2 cents out.
Okay,
Okay, the hospital is their own entity. We don't work for the hospital. We're not tied to the hospital.
Correct.
We drop the patients off. So when that patient gets to that hospital,
yeah,
it's that hospital's responsibility. It is no longer TAD's. And this is my own personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. People tell me if I am.
no, I
So
understand what you're saying.
it's technically, once we drop that party off to the hospital, it is their responsibility to get them to the next location if they so chose to.
Okay,
So
If that's AMR.
if that's AMR, if they want to pay TAD, I personally would like to see a contract.
okay,
And if they want to pay us a certain amount of money, then we can afford to put another crew on. But at the rate we're going, we are in the negatives from this when it's all said
no,
and
you're not in the
done.
negative.
We're getting close.
No, you're not in the negative.
It costs money.
It's
We're going to
math.
put out $111,000 again? That's not pocket change.
It ain't cheap.
Absolutely, it's not cheap. But I think, and like I said, when they go to the hospital, they belong to the hospital.
I think that's correct.
So
If
then
Dr.
why
Ford's
are
on the phone, can I say something? Because I can speak from a medical standpoint. I deal with this a lot.
Go ahead.
Change of shift has always been a universal issue, even in the hospitals. When we have, I work at one of the bigger tertiary hospitals up north a couple days out of the month, and when we have transfers coming in, we have to wait until shift is, there's a change of shift. We have to wait until there's staffing available, and sometimes, they have to wait. So this is not isolated to Trinidad, but I'm not even sure why we're even having this conversation, because change of shift is a universal problem in every aspect, from the hospital all the way down to the ambulance. It's not special problem. It's not a special problem that only is isolated to the ambulance district. So I'm not really following any of this. I think that this just needs to be a sit down. You guys can work out the details with the hospital, and I think we just need to keep moving on, guys. I'm sorry. This is getting ridiculous.
I agree.
But we keep trying, but we don't get there. We, at one point in time, this has been several years back, we tried to have a meeting with those people, and they didn't show up.
Well, that's okay. We're gonna just try again. We're gonna try again, because I don't want to keep going back to the past. We tried, they didn't respond. Let's just keep going forward. Let's try to be positive. Let's try again.
That's all we can do. I mean, really, truly. It's all we can do. And if it's just a discussion to say, I'm sorry that you're misunderstanding, that we're not wanting to do transfers, that is not what it is at all. We are just having to delay a little bit due to A, B, C, and D.
And the most important thing is that the patient be stable and safe. And if they're in the hospital waiting for a transfer, I know it's an inconvenience for the hospital, It's an inconvenience for the hospital I work at. It's an inconvenience universally when it's a change of shift, but it is a universal national problem all over the United States, from the hospital all the way down to the ambulance. So guys, this is not, this is nothing new or special to Trinidad. So I think we just need to negotiate, and we are doing, everybody's doing their best to take care of these patients. These patients are stable. It's just obviously not to the satisfaction of the hospital. So I say let's take it back and try to talk again. That's all you can do.
Okay. That makes me feel
I'll
better
let you
knowing
off
it's
to go
not
to
you
that meeting
and stuff.
if it ever happens.
So, all right. All right, so I'm just going to move on. We're gonna end that discussion, and we will, we can talk about how we're going to smush this. So we'll go from there. Okay, anything else on your?
That was it.
Okay, let's move on to operations, please.
Okay.
Month of June was a busy month. We had 233 requests for service, 52 non-transports, 181 transports, 41 inter-facility transfers. Our on-call crews ran 3 calls. Medic 3 ran 2, Medic 4 ran 1, and Captain Detroit here had 2 refusals. With the 41 inter-facility transfers, we put 8,530 miles on our rigs. And that's all I have for operations.
Okay. Any questions for him?
Nope.
Fleet management?
Oh, it's been a busy week, kids. We had 3 trucks down, one for blown turbo, one for suspension, bushing that was out that had to be ordered. And if anybody orders anything right now, they understand that it takes a while to get that in. So the other one has actually been out for about a month and a half. Started out with an exhaust system issue, full particulate filter, cracked particulate filter, that was replaced. Then it was found to have bad injectors. The injectors just came in yesterday. I'm hoping to have that truck up and running within the next 2 days, and we should have the truck back up and running for the suspension problem tomorrow. So with that, and since we're talking about IFTs, we were down to 2 trucks. The transfer truck, which is not the optimal for our area due to the fact it's just 2-wheel drive. We did that on purpose to save money on the maintenance. Was out as one of our primary 911 trucks, and then what we did was we pulled one of the QRT ambulances. We have 3 of them within the county. We pulled one of those in and set that up as our last out. So during that time, I spoke with Dr. Case, actually had some interaction with Dr. Ball, then worked it out better with Dr. Case. We did restrict transfers during that time for about 2.5 days. We are back up and running for transfers as normal, so that's back up and running. And not necessarily fleet maintenance, just kind of go after we had our special meeting, let you know that the schedule's working just fine right now. We're able to, everything's ALS. We have one EMT new hire is already on, and probably 3/4 of the way through our FTO program. The second EMT that we hired starts tomorrow. We have picked up 1 additional part-time paramedic, and the 2, Francis and Jeff, both are going to stay on as part-time medics. They're obviously getting their sea legs up and running with their new jobs and that type of thing. So just wanted to let you guys know that. So we haven't had to, we've increased our overtime, but we haven't had to have, we had actually 1 day, a day and a half that we had a BLS crew on. But I actually stayed down here overnight and stayed with that crew both for all 36 hours and ran with them, so if they needed an ALS provider, they had it. So right now we've been able to keep that ALS, but it is coming soon that we'll be having the BLS card. That's all I have.
Anything under miscellaneous, board? All right, next regular meeting date. August 25th. 4:30 PM. Okay. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Floyd second.
Roll call.
Kathy,
Yes?
Nick,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Okay, adjourn at 5:49 PM.